friends, this is the Mrs. Volfie from Our Half Acre Homestead. Well, it's Nan's 75th birthday, and we are going to make, at her request, an angel food cake with strawberries and whipped cream. Angel food cake takes 12 egg whites, and they need to be at room temperature. So the very first thing we do before we get all our other ingredients together is we separate our eggs and our yolks so that they can come up to room temperature. It is a lot of eggs, folks, but I'm lucky enough to have laying hens. I like to separate mine is by hand. And I'm going to be using my egg yolks in another recipe. So I just put them through my hand just like that. And there it is, folks. 12 egg whites, 12 egg yolks. I'm going to wrap these up and put them in the fridge because I'm going to use them tomorrow. And this is going to come to room temperature. Alrighty. Our egg whites are still coming up to room temperature, but we're going to get our other stuff together. And for that, we need a teaspoon and a half of cream of tartar. And we need a half a teaspoon, quarter to a half a teaspoon of salt. You're going to need a cup of flour and a cup and a half of sugar divided. So 3/4 of a cup here and 3/4 of a cup here. And the reason I have it divided is because one gets whipped in with the egg whites first and one goes in with the flour. Now you can use cake flour if you want, but I just twice sift mine. And I sift the sugar right in with it to make sure it's well mixed. The cream of tartar and the salt goes in with the egg whites. Alright, let's see you at the counter. Alrighty, here's our cake pan, and it's not greased. Not greased and floured. Apparently you don't want it to come out very easy. Alright, and you're going to need some kind of bottle that has the top big enough to fit in the funnel of your cake pan. Okay, you're also going to need the whisk attachment and the spatula beater attachment. Let's start with our 12 egg whites. Let's get those in there, and our teaspoon and a half of cream of tartar and our 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And let's get those going. Lock the cowgirl down and whip. Alrighty, let's have a look. Soft peak means these nice soft little peaks. Alright, we're going to turn this back on high, and we're going to slowly add our sugar. And we're going to beat this until it's stiff peaks. Alright, we're at stiff peaks. At this stage, you usually fold your flour into your egg whites by hand. But I have the cowgirl, and we're going to try something new. We're going to use our beater, spatula beater. Now, if you don't have this attachment, folks, go right ahead and fold this in by hand. But we're going to put our soft beater bar on, and we're just going to, it's basically stir. We're going to add our flour and our vanilla in really slow, almost a spoon at a time. And in goes the last of our flour sugar mixture. This is the first time I've ever heard of not greasing a pan. I bless the friend who sent me this KitchenAid every time I use it. God bless her heart. It's the best gift I could ever have received. Yeah, now we're going to take a knife, and we're just going to take it through to make sure there's no air pockets in our angel food cake. And we are going to bake this in a 375-degree oven. I'm going to say 30 to 35 minutes. Ta-da!
Oh, look at that.
Now we're going to invert this over top of this bottle. This is why we don't grease the pan, because we want the cake to stay in the pan. And we're just going to let this cool. It allows the cake to retain its shape, its nice fluffy shape. If we were to turn that out onto a pan, it would press it down. Alrighty, our cake is cool. We're going to take it out, put it on a plate. Now, remember, we didn't butter this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run a knife around the inside of the pan. Loosen it away from the inner funnel. Alright, let's try this. Oh my goodness! And Bob's your uncle. A perfect angel food cake. And now we're going to get our berries ready. I have rinsed them and set them in a strainer inside a bowl. Fresh local strawberries. We're going to want enough strawberries to put a nice thick layer in our cake. We're just going to take a teaspoon at a time. So 3 teaspoons of sugar to 6 teaspoons of sugar. And we're just going to sprinkle them over our berries so that when the cake cools, the sugar pulls the juice out and we will have a nice juicy layer. Alrighty folks, now we're going to divide this cake into 3 layers. Alright, I have plates here with parchment on them so that hopefully our layers won't stick to the plate and we'll be able to assemble it properly. I have here just a piece of plain sewing thread and I folded it in half, and this essentially is going to become my knife. Now what I want to do is check the thickness of my layers. So I'm going to do it from this side so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to turn it around so I can show you. What I'm going to do is take this thread and I'm just going to saw it into the cake. It has to be long enough, folks, that you can come to the back, and I'm just going to cross the thread over at the right level and I'm just going to pull. And there's one layer. And we're going to do it one more time, halfway up. We're going to wrap the thread around and we're going to cross it over and just pull. Now this part, I'm just going to flip this because the center layer is the most delicate and the bottom layer is already stuck to the cake. So there we have it, 3 layers, and we now are going to go and make the filling. Okay, I sliced these berries and I layered them with a little bit of sugar, and that helps the juice come out. So I've got a strainer here in a little pot, and I'm just going to pour the juice out of the berries. We only need a little bit of this juice anyway. Okay, here we have our bit of strawberry juice, and I've added a little bit of water. And I'm going to add about a tablespoon of sugar and a packet of Knox clear gelatin. Now you want this to go in while it's cold, but we have the kettle on to add some hot water. And I'm going to add another packet of Knox gelatin just because I want my layers for the cake to really hold up. Now we're just going to add a bit of extremely hot, almost boiling water, just to kind of get that gelatin doing its thing. Now we don't want this hot, so we're going to let this cool just a little bit. Alright, this is cooled down, and I'm just going to add it to, let me get a spatula here. I'm going to add it to the strawberries because the strawberries are quite cool, and it will help it set. And then we're going to go on and fill our cake. I've actually poured some of the juice off, and and added about a 1/4 cup of sugar and just mixed it in. We don't want all this gelatin in there, but we want to make sure it's coated. That's why I used a lot. Now starting with the bottom layer, I'm using a slotted spoon, and while this is starting to gel, I'm just going to begin to put a layer of strawberries onto our first layer of cake. And as you can see, with the coldness of the strawberries and the amount of gelatin I've used, this is actually gelling up pretty quick. Now we're going to take our parchment paper, our middle layer, and we're just going to drop that on there. And we're going to repeat the process. Now this is not an overly sweet filling. This is more of a berry flavored filling. Because A, Mama Volfie is a diabetic, and B, we don't like really heavy sweet stuff. And this is gelling up really quick thanks to the 2 packs of Knox gelatin. Now listen folks, Knox gelatin is just that. It is just gelatin. It's not got any colors in it. It's not got any sweeteners or anything. It's a base gelatin that you can do what you want with. Now, look at that. Isn't that lovely? Now we're going to take our top, and I'm going to set this aside for a second. It seems a little fussy, but my mama's worth it. Hey, Papa? So we're just going to take this plate. We're going to flip this top because we don't want to risk breaking it. And then we're going to take our top, and we're just going to flop that right on top of there. And Bob's your uncle. We have a triple layer strawberry angel food cake. Now we're going to coat it. Okay, now we're going to make the icing for our strawberry angel food layer cake. And again, we're going to use gelatin. Why? Because I'm going to make stabilized whipping cream. Okay? And for that you're going to need 1 packet of Knox gelatin, a 1/3 cup of sifted icing sugar, and a pint of whipping cream. Now we have 1 tablespoon of cold water in this pot, and we're just going to put our gelatin in there and get it mixed. And then again, like before, we're just going to add about a tablespoon of hot water from the kettle. Now you need this to be liquid, and we're just going to stir this till it dissolves. You need this to be liquid in order to add it to the whipping cream. But you want it to be cool, so that's why we just added the hot water. Now we'll go over and we will start our whipping cream. We have put our cowgirl bowl in the freezer as well as the beater because we want them to be nice and cold. We're going to add our pint of heavy whipping cream, and whoops, we're going to add our sifted 1/3 cup of icing sugar. And we're just going to get that whipping until it creates soft cakes. Now as it starts to thicken, we're just going to pour in very slowly our cooled down gelatin. It needs to be cool but not set. Now remember, we don't want butter, folks. And here is our stabilized whipping cream that we're going to ice our cake with. Our cake has been put in the fridge so it will be as cool as possible. Alrighty, now we're just going to take our stabilized whipping cream and we're just going to do our best to spread it on this cake. Now folks, you have to use the stabilized whipping cream right away. Otherwise, it will stiffen up on you in the bowl. There it is, folks. Happy birthday to you.
Wow. Holy moly.
Now make a wish, Mom. And you can get some dessert plates, Holly.
We'll give her the machete.
Did you make a wish?
I sure
Yay!
did. Sure did.
You got a fork there, Nan?
Stone fryers.
That looks so good.
God.
Forks. Happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Delicious. Oh, boy.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you.
This is the Mrs. Volfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, triple layer strawberry angel food cake with whipped cream icing. Nothing's too good for my mom.
Thank you very much.